A male lion has managed to kill more than 400 hyenas and 130 other male lions during its lifetime. It's true that in the media and on social networks, it's been said many times that a lion named Scarface killed over 400 hyenas and 130 rival male lions. In addition, even the crocodiles and hippos of the Mara River in Tanzania, East Africa, were wary of this lion. Scarface not only held his territory for years without defeat, but with a body full of scars and a half-closed eye, he became a symbol of power and survival in the Maasai Mara in southwestern Kenya. Today, we're going right into the heart of this incredible story, where nature shows no mercy and only the strong survive. So stay with me until the end of this video as I tell you about Scarface and the secret behind the scar on his face. Let's head into the endless plains of Africa. The sun heats everything up like a giant furnace. This land is full of the tracks of hunters and prey. The distant howls of hyenas can be heard, and the scent of dry grass mixes with the warm breeze. In this threatening wilderness, suddenly a shadow appears. Scarface. This lion got his name from a scar on his face, a wound that left his right eyelid permanently open. If you've seen the famous movie Scarface, directed by Brian De Palma and starring Al Pacino, made in 1983. The film is about a Cuban gangster named Tony Montana who rises to power through violence and ambition, but ultimately falls. But in nature, Scarface is a ruthless lion who became famous for his scarred face and ferocity. He was a powerful lion who led a successful coalition called the Four Musketeers. In fact, the Four Musketeers were made up of 4 male lions named Scarface, Sikio, Morani, and Hunter, who together were the unrivaled kings of the Maasai Mara. Basically, this group operated like a real criminal gang. Except instead of robbing banks, they took over territories and wiped out their enemies. For Scarface, crossing the Mara River, which was full of predators, especially Nile crocodiles, was as easy as pie. Of course, in the world of lions, courage without intelligence and strategy just gets you killed faster. And this was where Scarface's difference became clear. He was not only a warrior, but also a master of timing and choosing the right moment. For example, when he wanted to attack a herd of buffalo, he would wait until the rains from the night before made the ground slippery and slowed down his prey. Or when he faced hyenas, he knew exactly when to strike so the rest of them wouldn't dare come any closer. But in 2012, when Scarface was only 4 years old, he lost his right eyelid in one of the battles. This happened during the takeover of the Marsh Pride's territory. It was in this very battle that a photographer named Steve Clark captured the moment when Scarface, with a bloodied face, defeated a male lion named Claude. This image later became the symbol of Scarface's entire persona, wounded but unbeatable. From then on, the name Scarface wasn't just a nickname anymore. It became a brand. Every tourist or filmmaker who came to the Maasai Mara was looking to see this king. Even veterinarians and rangers would spring into action to save him whenever he got injured, because they knew his death would be a huge blow to the region's tourism. Scarface, Hunter, Morani, and Sikio had formed a true military alliance. They won territorial battles over and over again, including the takeover of the Paradise Pride in 2016. But interestingly, despite all this violence, these 4 lions behaved calmly and fatherly toward the lionesses and cubs. Many times, you could see Scarface lying in the middle of the cubs' play, even letting them bite his golden mane. Of course, things didn't always go well. He would get injured several times a year. Once, a Maasai warrior's spear struck his body, but every time, like a movie hero, he came back. These repeated comebacks made Scarface seem even more like a living legend. But you know, even kings aren't immortal. From 2016 onward, signs of aging gradually began to appear in Scarface's body. He slowed down, his thick mane started to fall out, and his wounds took longer to heal. On June 9th, 2020, rangers saw him walking between the Kabuso and double crossing areas in the Maasai Mara National Park. His body was thin, his gaze tired, but there was still pride in his steps. Believe it or not, even as he was approaching death, he moved with that same sense of ownership and power. That day, he traveled 25 kilometers, about 15 miles, to return to his birthplace. When he got close to the territory of the third males, the three young and ruthless male lions, everyone thought this was the end for him. But something strange happened. Those three lions just watched him from a distance. Even when Scarface gave them a weak but memory-filled roar as a warning, they didn't attack. Maybe it was respect, maybe fear, or maybe they realized they were dealing with an old warrior who had nothing left to lose. But on June 11th, 2020, around 1 in the afternoon, Scarface closed his eyes forever in peace under the watchful gaze of the rangers. At the venerable age of 14 years, the oldest and most majestic male lion in the vast Maasai Mara had tragically passed away. On that somber day, it was not merely a powerful lion that had departed, but truly a legendary figure. In my opinion, what made Scarface so special wasn't just his physical strength or the battles he won, but the combination of courage, intelligence, charisma, and the ability to survive in an environment where even living one more day is a huge challenge. A lot of people say he was lucky that veterinarians saved him several times, but I think even without them, he could have made his mark in history. Now it's your turn. What do you think would have happened if Scarface lived in the human world? A war general, a charismatic leader, or maybe a boxing champion? Write your thoughts in the comments. Scarface was born in the vast and wild plains of Kenya, where life is always a constant battle for survival. He grew up in the heart of the Maasai Mara, alongside his brothers and sisters, and under the protective care of his mother. Scarface spent his early days like any other cub, learning the ways of this dangerous world. Sometimes he would playfully wrestle with his siblings, and other times he would watch from afar as the strong lions led the pride. Food was always shared among everyone, and the older members of the pride kept danger away from them. But even in this relative safety, Scarface couldn't ignore the unwritten law of the savanna. Power belongs to the strong. His peaceful childhood didn't last long. The older he got, the more he realized that tough challenges lay ahead. He saw how adult males were driven out of the pride. But eventually, the day he had always sensed finally arrived. He too drove out the other males to maintain his rule. The ups and downs of his life on the perilous path of the savanna began. Despite all this, Scarface's story shows us that even in old age, this lion never lost his authority and fought until his last breath. Scarface was a powerful lion, but his legacy was more than just territory and hunting. Scarface showed us that true strength means standing tall when everyone thinks you've fallen.